Thank you for being here, and thank you, Council President Nelson, Councilmember Kettle, Councilmember Rivera, and CEO Scholes for being here in support. I appreciate everyone who's been a part of this as we talk about the introduction of legislation that is aimed at helping to protect our public spaces from areas that have sadly become established known drug use and illegal criminal activity locations. We know this as our downtown core and our international district area. So we are introducing today legislation that will create an area legislatively as a stay out of drug area zone. We need to be providing mechanisms that all actors in this public safety space can help disrupt criminal enterprise that has taken a hold in locations that are too established in our city. And from that flows other criminal activity. We want to protect our residents, our workers, our visitors, all who come to the city of Seattle. And it is time that we do some action that will help to disrupt those who want to come and create criminal enterprise in the form of drug use and possession and all the activity that is associated with it. I am very grateful for the support, as I mentioned, of the legislative branch that is here. I appreciate those who will be involved in the application of this law. That is involving all of our public safety partners. That would be the police, that would be me as the prosecutor, and our court system. This legislation will provide a way for a judge to issue an order that will then help to disrupt, again, that criminal activity that is associated with drug possession. Our stay out of drug areas locations, as I said, are strategically created. They exclude locations for substance abuse treatment and permanent supportive housing. They are not to be things that are intended to be unhealthy and unhelpful for those that are battling addiction and are looking for the road to recovery. These are ways to protect public spaces, and I believe we can do both at the same time. Our residents have demanded more, and I believe we are stepping up to provide that. Again, with the aim to protect public spaces, to improve where we can, public safety and the public spaces for everybody to have a safer, accessible location for all of our public spaces together. That is the goal of what we're doing today, and I really appreciate your support in being here, and now I'll turn it over to Council President Nelson.
Thank you, City Attorney Davison, and thank you all for coming today. I applaud the City Attorney's Office and City Attorney Davison and also Councilmember Kettle for working together to put this initiative before us today, because enough is enough. We have got to do more. We have to have more tools on the books to focus on concentrations of drug-related activity in our city, plain enough. And this is exactly the sort of approach that the city auditor says we should be taking, a place-based approach to the problems at hand, the problems of the overlapping fentanyl epidemic and crime that we witness downtown every day. So, you know, one might ask, why place-based? Well, because we have to understand the conditions that are leading to the criminal and antisocial behavior that we see playing out every single day. And we've also heard Interim Chief Rahr say that we have to interrupt the business model that is supporting that behavior. And frankly, the business is drugs, and these are crimes of opportunity. And so this is going to give us an additional tool to say, no, you cannot be here. You cannot be on the 50-yard line of our city where the major north-south transit corridor intersects with the east-west corridor, bringing people from Capitol Hill to the waterfront, through our retail core, past our convention center. We have to be mindful of the fact that we don't have unlimited police resources, and so therefore we have to focus them where they will make the most good and be strategic about our deployment of not just police, but also social service resources. So that's what this legislation is about. You'll hear more from the folks that have spent months and months working on this. I mean, I do have to say that while this audit report came out in my committee on the 25th, it was presented, this work to produce this legislation has been going on a long time. And so this is a big team effort, and thank you very much for the folks that brought it forward, and we'll hear from the next speaker on the list. Thanks.
Thank you everyone for coming. Also, thank you Council President Nelson, Councilmember Rivera, City Attorney Davison, and good to have DSA CEO John Scholes with us today. I wanted to start off by saying our neighborhoods are impacted by the drug trade, are hurting. They are hurting. Our downtown is impacted and is hurting. And as seen in other neighborhoods struck by gun violence, a sense of this is how it is can settle in. We need to fight back. They and we are not resigned. We are not resigned to our fate with this challenge. We will not accept the status quo. We cannot. It is clear that once we have a drug market, we then have a stolen goods market. And then oftentimes prostitution, possibly, and sex trafficking. The harm is undeniable. Our strategic framework plan is our guide, and this SOTA bill is key to it, for it shows intent, and it gives a tool to not just SPD, but also to the prosecutors and the court across the street from us today. We cannot solve the drug trade crisis with just this bill, but it does add to the comprehensive approach that we're advocating for and carrying out, and importantly, carrying out. As I mentioned yesterday, in 2022 and 2023, we had City Attorney Davison, we had Mayor Harrell working hard on the public safety challenges that we face. In 2024, the difference is that we have a new council under the leadership of Council President Nelson and a new public safety committee that is working collaboratively with both the executive and judicial branches in a One Seattle way to meet our public safety challenges head on. To close, I also want to say thank you to my constituents in District 7, but also to all those across the city who have told me their stories of how their lives, their homes, their neighborhoods, their schools, their businesses have been impacted by the drug trade. It is unbelievable and oftentimes horrific. We need to lead with compassion. Yes, we need to lead with compassion and start with empathy for those that are in crisis. But we also have to lead with wisdom to know that we have to look for the whole of community. We have to look out for our residents. We have to look out for our businesses and to look out for our communities. And that's what we're going to do. Thank you. And now, oh, come on. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Kettle, and I'm just here to lend my support to my colleagues who sit on the Public Safety Committee on this piece of legislation. I want to thank Councilmember Kettle as chair of the committee and City Attorney Davison for bringing this forward. Public safety is something that residents in the D4 very much care a lot about, and this particular law is to address those that are creating the most harm and taking advantage of our residents who are struggling with addiction and who are trying to recover. And these types of tools help us keep people safe. And so again, I don't sit on the Public Safety Committee, but I am here to lend support to my colleagues. And I really thank DSA for being a good partner. And John?
Thank you, Councilmember. Good morning, everybody. I'm John Scholes, President and CEO of the Downtown Seattle Association. We represent about 700 companies and organizations downtown and 1,300 property owners. The first paragraph of the city charter says that it's the paramount duty of the city to protect the health, safety, environment, and welfare of the people of Seattle. Collectively, as a community, we're failing in that regard, particularly in a number of places in our community. At 3rd and Pike downtown, at 12th and Jackson, in the International District, and in other parts of our city. That's confirmed by the report of our own city auditor that Council President Nelson referenced a moment ago, that says where we've got a high concentration of drug use, we've got a high concentration of crime. It's the worst kept secret in Seattle, but our auditor confirms it. I appreciate the action being proposed today by our city attorney and council members that stand behind me. The neighborhoods of downtown where we've got a high concentration of drug use and crime are demanding action. I have no doubt that there are going to be folks who come out against this legislation. Some of the same folks who said it was a good idea to defund our police department are going to say this is completely the wrong approach to dealing with this crisis in our community. They're going to say it's not nice or fair to the folks that are going to be impacted to the people being arrested. They'll say very little about what is nice and fair to the barista that just quit her job at First and Pike because it's too unsafe to work there, or the small businesses that are spending thousands of dollars every month on security, or the residents that have to wade through fentanyl marketplace with folks that are aggressive, or folks lighting fires in their alleys behind apartments. They'll say very little about what is nice and fair to the folks that are dealing with that reality on a daily basis. The folks that suggested defunding the police was a good idea for our city, or would be a good idea, will also say that instead of this, we should be investing in alternatives and more treatment and housing. On that point, they're right, and we are. We created a care department, an alternative to policing. We tripled the housing levy last November, something our organization strongly supported. We've pioneered in this community alternatives to arrest. The LEAD program was started in Belltown in 2011. We supported that pilot as an organization. We've supported its expansion. We absolutely must invest in treatment, alternative services, more housing, transitional and permanent, and we are doing that. And we also must keep people from continuing to come back to the same place, committing the same crimes, and impacting residents, visitors, those who work downtown, those who own small businesses, and those who own property. It's not right. The neighborhoods in these areas are demanding a restraining order against this behavior and these actions. And I appreciate the action being taken today to propose this legislation to give our judicial branch another tool to interrupt this dangerous cycle, this collision of the most deadly drug in our community, crime and suffering. Too many people are suffering on our streets. It's time for more action to disrupt this. The neighborhoods downtown are demanding this and appreciate the action being taken today.
So that concludes this part of the news conference. Right now we can open it up to questions. If you have a specific question for a specific person, please let us know. If it's just a general question, the team will huddle real quickly and decide who can field it.
For those who wanted to hear the question, is there a difference between what was used before and this one in regards to pretrial release? And again, before, there was not a legislative tool for it, so this is one where we are providing it legislatively. And so conditions of release would then designate the location of that. And so to me, that is what we're talking about, is what is the conditions of release. And so that's where we put this forward with the map that is located of that specific location, and that would be the one place that is designated. Municipalities have similar things, so it is around, but we have just decided to put this forward legislatively, as in the past it was just a function of a prosecutor requesting it and a judge issuing that.
Okay, that's great.
I just wanted to ask about enforceability here. I mean, there are many opportunities for police to enforce failure to appears or warrants. Obviously, those are difficult to enforce. How do you expect police to actually act on this when we don't necessarily see them acting on outstanding warrants or failure to appears, and struggling to find those people in the first place?
I'm not sure if your data is correct, David, on that they don't act on failure to appear or warrants. I do know we have restrictions on booking that are related to that on warrants, and so that's a significant issue in my opinion. But related to what we're doing is to provide an additional mechanism to supplement. That's what we're trying to do. If this is something that can also help, as John notably said, the disruption of the criminal enterprise of the drug market that is established in 3rd and Pike and Pine and 12th and Jackson, then I think this is something that we should pursue. That's why I brought it forward. If it's something that helps occasionally, I'm okay with that, because it really does need to have additional action so that we can see the disruption of this market, because it is a problematic location that is established in both of these areas that I've put forward. And as John has said, workers and residents and visitors are having to go through these established drug markets, and we need to see the revival of economic activity so we can see the longevity of our city and the livelihood of our neighborhoods be established and strengthened.
Can I speak to that too?
Yes.
Wait.
Sorry.
David, I just wanted to speak to that too. I think an important piece to this is that I've had conversations with Chief Rahr, and Chief is looking to engage and push forward. And to my point about 2024, the officers of SPD know that they have the upper management, if you will, of city government has their back and their support in terms of pushing out. I think that's going to make major difference, that and Chief Ward's leadership, because we know we need to take action. She knows that we need to take action, and the men and women of the Seattle Police Department does too. Now, is there challenges to that? Is there difficulties? Yes, but I think you'll see more engaged effort on this as we bring all these different pieces together, like I was talking about, our comprehensive approach. The police officers feel that. They feel it, and they're going to be acting forward in terms of addressing these drug places that we have.
Thank you. Guy?
Guy with Real Change. This country has tried 5 decades of carceral, punitive, war on drugs policies. Why do you think this will work if it's the exact same thing the city, the state, and the country have tried?
Hi, Guy. Nice to see you. As we had shown last week, and as Councilmember Moore smartly showed in her comments, we showed what the average daily population is for our misdemeanor defendants. And we are not anywhere near what the description that you just provided, which is a large amount of incarcerated people. The goal is not that. The goal, again, is to protect public spaces, and hopefully we are getting people again into treatment. This is an additional way that we can protect the public spaces, make them accessible and safer for everyone to use them and to move through them to where they need to go. And then also, as we have all said, the goal is we're trying to get people into recovery, and we're trying to support people in recovery, but we have to simultaneously protect the public spaces so everybody can access them.
I understand the argument, and 110%. And as mentioned before, the first thing here is leading with compassion. It's the diversion pieces. We have to do that. But it's also clear, if you go to the neighborhoods, you talk to the neighbors, they knew who the drug dealers are. This is about disruption of the process of the drug trade. And by doing that, we can really make a difference in terms of what's happening on the ground in these neighborhoods, because it is so specific and the impacts are so specific. We have an opportunity to disrupt that. And again, it's one piece of an overall comprehensive plan.
And I do want to take this opportunity, because this conversation happened when we were deliberating on the bill that would have made the drug bill, let's say, that failed in June of last year and then was ultimately passed. This is not the war on drugs, and analogies between efforts to address what's going on right now. We're talking about misdemeanor, we're talking about gross misdemeanor, and the war on drugs threw people in jail on trumped up felonies for years and years and years. And so efforts to conflate the two, I believe that's a false equivalency, and we really do have to break out of that tendency to go there and really focus on what is happening and look around what is happening in our city and chart a path forward that's really going to layer on different legislative and policy efforts to make a difference.
Okay, so the question is, what is the consequence for violation of the order, and then how are we tracking the impact on the people? And I appreciate the questions, Amy, because again, this is within discretion of what is recommended. We look at things on a case-by-case basis as they come in. And to look at the impact, again, we will look at, are we seeing people with repeat referrals? Are we starting to see that it's not actually making an impact? That's significant to me, because that means somebody is very entrenched, sadly, in their substance use disorder, and we are trying to disrupt that. We also want to make it difficult, as Councilmember Kettle said, for those who are looking to target and take advantage of people who are in that vulnerable situation, who know where they stay and know where they congregate in locations to come and easily sell to them. We want to make it hard for people to find their customers to do that, because we think that they are harming their life and, again, their longevity of life. We are looking to disrupt that criminal enterprise because it is unhealthy for those individuals. And this, again, is an additional mechanism that we hope we can intervene in that.
Joel?
There have been business owners in Belltown that have been concerned about predatory drug dealers hanging outside of social service centers. And it sounded like you're going to exclude those areas. Are there any legitimate reasons to be within a soda under this? There's no other social services within these zones, or reasonable reasons to be there?
we have made sure to exclude social services, as I noted earlier, within the two proposed zones that I put forward that are located in downtown and in the International District, so that they are not there. But a judge can listen to if somebody has a family member in those locations, et cetera. That again is within a judicial discretion is how that functions. But it is to just basically say, we don't want this activity going on in these locations. You've been found to be doing that, and we want to disrupt that. Again, that is part of how the process will unfold on a case-by-case basis there as we look at that.
Can I add to that? I've had so many discussions with the residents of Belltown, and their input is feeding into the SOTA bill, and in terms of the zones themselves, along with coordinating across the branches, to be smart about this, to avoid having service providers within the zone. And the team has done a great effort to do so. And in Belltown, 2nd and Bell, it's a problematic area, but the Catholic Community Service providers are just outside of it. So 2nd and Bell up to Lenora, over to 3rd, that's a challenging area, and we look to avoid having service providers in these zones that have been produced.
All right, right here in front.
Yeah, is there a timeline then? I was just at 3rd and Pike this morning, and it's worse than ever. Is there a timeline now where these people will actually be moved? When can we see that? We're at the beginning of August right now, and also I've noticed a couple fences now that have gone up in alleyways through the Ross store and closer to the Pike Market. Is that all part of your plan right now?
Yes, and these are the conversations that we have with SPD, with the mayor's office, and those responsible for public safety, in terms of what can we do. And it's, sometimes it's working with We Deliver Care. They do a fantastic job in terms of helping those on the street. But it's also engaging, with SPD to affect what's happening on the streets, particularly on 3rd and Pike particularly, so yes.
Is there a timeline? If I came back in September, the 3rd might be clear.
I don't have a timeline for that. This is something that we're engaging, with the executive side, and but no, there's no timeline. Obviously, sooner is better, but I don't have a specific timeline.
I'll just mention that that when it comes to the implementation of the laws we pass, obviously that falls to the executive, and there's no one from the mayor's office right here. My understanding is that the mayor's office and the mayor are in support of this, but really we're not the boss of the police, and so it really depends on what all three branches of government are doing to work together to improve the situation.
All right. Any other questions? Let's go. Do you have a question? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Hearing all of them speak about this, how does it make you feel? And do you think, in your opinion, that'll really work?
I appreciate the action that's being taken. The status quo is expensive. It's costing a lot of lives. It's not working. We're going to have another store that closes later today in this SOTA area in downtown. Another store front that closes. So the current course and speed is failing. It's failing from a moral perspective, a health perspective, from a public safety perspective, and there's significant risk to the city's economic base. So I'm grateful for the action today. We need a lot of tools at our disposal to address this crisis that's costing a lot of lives and costing a lot of money.
So the question is, how would someone get an exception? And that is what is presented to the judge, and that would be then within the judge's discretion as they're reviewing that. They could have a public defender, right? Like there's always the process to do that because that's the way it's established.
I would just add, if you're in this part of town and you are looking for economic opportunity, if you want a job, if you want housing support, we're ready to help you. We hired 40 folks in the last 3 months. Off the streets, folks in drug court, folks with substance use disorder, folks with criminal records, folks that have come out of the prison system. So if you are looking for work, we are here to employ you and to invest in your housing and your recovery. So that shouldn't be a barrier. We'd love to have you working on our team.
So we have time for one more question. I'll go to David.
I guess my question is, so an officer sees somebody in an area that they shouldn't be, they make an arrest. then what? I mean, we've seen a lot of people who cycle through the jail system and continue to do so. What is the expectation that this will actually disrupt that cycle? And I also have a question for Council President Nelson, but I think I would like to start here.
Again, David, as we talked about, like, it is an additional way to send the message of this is not activity that is okay with us societally. We do not want somebody who is there with the legal possession and selling of drugs and having a known drug market. So if this is an additional way to disrupt that those are established areas that we all know, as John said, the worst kept secret in Seattle. We all know this is happening, and people walk by. People come to visit Seattle and they don't understand why the rest of us are walking by. We are not walking by anymore. We are saying this is not okay. We want to give attention to people that have been otherwise invisible and neglected and overlooked. And in my opinion, it's the people that are there, that are in the throes of addiction and substance use disorder, that we have just walked around and stepped over and not paid attention to. And we're not doing that anymore because we say, we think you're worth the effort and we are gonna make the effort, and if this means that this is an exit ramp for you, we're really glad. If there's a different one that doesn't make us get to this point, that's even better. But we have to have this available as an additional way. And so to me, that's what we're doing.
Well, before you go to Council President Nelson, I just wanted to jump in and say I appreciate the acknowledgement of people cycling through the system, because that's what's happening. That's what I hear from the residents. You know, there's something happening on the corner of 2nd and Bell, for example. Next thing you know, they go away for 24 hours, but then they're back doing the same crimes. So this is the cycling point that you noted in your question, is what we need to tackle, because that drives, you know, what's happening on the ground in each of these neighborhoods that we're seeing the drug trade impacting so severely. So I really appreciate, you know, the highlighting, you know, because obviously this is a big issue. We've had meetings with King County regarding the jail, the booking restrictions and so forth. The cycling through is a key part of this problem that we have. So thank you.
And we will conclude with this question, this follow-up question. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email me or the council members' offices. David.
And on this cycling through issue, why are they cycling through? We need to do more to help people stop cycling through and put their lives together, recover from fentanyl, substance use disorder and other things, and move on to on a different path. And that is something that I've been working on for a long time. We should not accept that that we're just going to allow for people to lack the resources to actually take the step to get over a dependency and get their lives back together. The cycling through is unacceptable. That should not be happening.
I just want to ask about the timing here, which is you are 6 weeks out or so from when budget needs to really start happening. You've got a lot of really significant legislation suddenly on the table. How do you manage that?
That's what I hinted at before. I said, you know, we've got a lot going on before, not just budget, but recess, which starts in a couple weeks. And so this will be heard, excuse me if I'm wrong, I might need to have the chair address this, but this will be in committee on the September 13th, and then what?
August 13th.
August 13th. Here, why don't you talk about when this is going to happen?
Yes, David, this will be heard in committee on August 13th, and it'll be working. As I mentioned in our interview, we're pressing through the tape of September 24th. You know, we're pressing through on all these public safety challenges, so it will be heard on August 13th, and we'll have the schedule out 1, 2, and then to council.
And just to let you all know that next steps is in the news release, which there are a few hard copies there, and all of your newsrooms have that also. If you didn't get it, or if you want to be on our list, please feel free to contact me. This wraps it up. Thank you all very much for coming. We really appreciate it.